The theory is that all these shops will eat the cost, so they'll sell it to you for 50 cents instead of $1 so that you can get in the shop and spend your money on something else. So they'll overcharge on other products, but they will get you into the shop by offering 50% off on the embroidery thread. Hello and welcome to Unstitched Podcast. Today hanging out with Vika and
Hannah.
And today we're going to be talking about all the embroidery thread universe, different types of embroidery thread, all the conspiracy theories attached to embroidery thread, and so much more. So stick around.
I am fully expecting you to just head this one up because I feel like I'm going to learn a lot from you.
I don't know. I haven't done a ton of preparation, to be honest, but I feel like that it's just going to flow because we've talked about it before. So
because it's us, yeah.
Because it's us,
All right.
Exactly. Yeah, so I want to dive in straight into your favorite type of embroidery floss. Also, we need to talk about floss versus thread because in Britain / on the other side of the pond, we say thread. We don't say floss.
Yeah.
And you guys say floss. I'm always so confused.
Samesies. I mean, I think the reason why is because floss, like what people use the word floss for in America, I think is like synonymous with a slightly heavier weight than a thread, which I think people associate with like sewing thread, which is like a lower thread weight.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference. But to be honest, I don't know. And I use them interchangeably. So
yeah, I feel like, obviously floss is American, thread is general. So I will end up using like half and half basically. But it is still strange to me to use a floss. The first thing when I think floss, I think
like dental floss?
Floss in your teeth.
Yeah, same. My favorite thread to use is Sulky, which does not surprise anyone. But that's also because the majority of my work, if I am using any kind of thread, I like to be very thin and very fine line kind of work because I want the fabric to be able to be shown way more since that's the thing that I like to highlight. Sulky thread is like a very lightweight, incredibly fine, strong thread. And it comes in spools, which I highly enjoy. I do not like using 6-stranded cotton as much just because I feel like it makes more of a mess. So for me, it's the ease of just being able to pull one strand off, cut it, and that's the one I'm using. How about you? What's your favorite?
Agree. Before we're jumping to that, I want to ask you, so you said Sulky is your favorite.
Yes.
What is your most used thread? Is it still Sulky?
Still Sulky.
Sulky. So you use Sulky pretty much.
So it's tricky because I also care about the environment and I want to be conscious of how much waste I create. So I try and utilize whatever I have, which for anybody who's new here, a lot of the fabric that I have and a lot of the thread that I have has been passed down to me either by my grandmother or relatives or from other people's relatives and grandmothers. Sadly, when the older generations pass away, a lot of them did do some sort of needlepoint, some sort of embroidery. And most people don't know what to do with that stuff. And it usually just gets donated to a Salvation Army, a Goodwill, some kind of secondhand store. But when you kind of make a name for yourself about trying to utilize recycled or secondhand goods, people send things to you. So I have so much fabric and thread that's been just passed down to me. A lot of it I don't even know what brand it is, but a lot of it is 6-stranded DMC cotton or JP coats. And so I just use whatever is on hand.
JP coats? What is that? I've never heard of that.
It's like a knockoff of
okay.
DMC.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't even know if they exist anymore. It was basically like a thread that was around when my grandmother was embroidering. So I have a lot of JP coats. I don't know if they're even. I should look that up. I don't even know if they're still in existence today. If I'm using if I'm really grabbing for a specific kind of thread, it's Sulky. Otherwise, I'm just grabbing whatever I have from one of those. Oh, I can do this. I can point there. One of those floss. happens.
Gotcha. And what kind of sulky do you use? The sulky has a ton.
I love the 12 weight, the petites, which are like these tiny little, they're cute and adorable. And then the metallics, because their metallics are unmatched. It is the brand that I recommend to anybody to use. They are so durable and strong, and the amount of metallic options that they have are like
insane,
incredible.
Like off the top of your head, 20 plus?
Oh, easily. I mean, they have like different varieties of metallic thread too. So
different types of sheens and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then within each type there's like a full colorway. So it's pretty heavenly. And I can show some off and talk about them in the episode today. So
okay, we'll definitely bring up sulky again. I'm surprised, I have to say, that that's your most used / favorite. I'm not surprised about the favorite part, but the most used I'm surprised about.
So the tricky part is, like, if I'm making something that's going to be a kit, I will always use DMC because it's easy to grab, like it's easy to get a hold of in bulk. It's easy to distribute. Most people have heard of DMC before. Like, it's really well known. But when I'm making my original artwork, it's so smooth. Like, I don't even have to use like a thread conditioner or anything to like get the fray. Like, it doesn't really fray. I just find it way more user friendly.
For me, it'll be DMC. Yeah. Actually. But I really, really enjoy single strand stitching. So there's only one piece of art that I've done satin stitch with 3 strands. And it was the first satin stitch piece that I've done. And I've not done more than a single strand since. And then I will use pearl cottons and cotton embroidery and all kinds of DMC threads. But generally, it's a single strand stitching is what I enjoy, because it's also on a very small scale. Like not bigger than 4 inches. I like that.
Yeah. So for anybody who is listening or watching at home, Vika did one of the giant quilt hoops in single strand. The giant hoop. Didn't you do that one in single strand?
Well, it was pearl cotton, so it was a strand, but it's not the same. It's not the same type of thread.
I mean, it's a different kind of thread, but it's different. But you did single strand for that giant hoop, didn't you?
Yeah, but it's a very thick strand. Like
Still,
it's size 5 that I used. Well, I know, and there's thousands of stitches, absolutely. But
oh my gosh.
Yeah, imagine doing that 28-inch hoop. I'm pretty proud of that one still. It's been 2 years since I've done it. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I can actually, because time passes. Also, for anybody listening at home, it is spring break, so you may or may not hear my husband and children in the background. So just the reality of having a family.
Nobody cares, Hannah. Not about your family, but about the fact that they're screaming and shouting behind the door.
Maybe it'll be more relatable.
Exactly.
So you prefer to use pearl cotton out of the different variations of DMC, or would you say 6-stranded or?
So my favorite is single strand 6-stranded to use.
Yeah.
Because I like to me, that one, even though most of the thread that I use is 100% cotton, that one is just, it's like the softest and the most maneuverable, I guess, to me anyway. And I've tried all types of threads, so I feel like I have a big library of experience with embroidery thread, because I wanted to, when I first discovered it, I was like, whoa, there's so much, which is weird because most of the people don't even know about the fact that there's so much more than just the 6 strands of this regular thread. Fair enough, it's the most popular for a reason, but there are others that are just as incredible or even more fun, like pearl cotton, for example. So much fun. And DMC, when they make pearl cotton, there's a few different sizes, but the 2 most popular sizes, size 8 and size 5, they actually have a lot of colors. To say that DMC has the biggest color library, choice for the stranded thread, which is 500 colors.
Yeah.
Pearl cotton size 5 has 380 something. Oh, and then size 8 will have 270. Yeah, so still a ton of colors.
So many.
A ton of colors.
See, this is the luxury you have of being in the UK, because for us, that's not available to us in stores most places. So if I wanted to order a pearl cotton, unless I want to say most stores have maybe 10 colors. If I wanted to experience the other ones, I'd probably have to special order them.
I wouldn't say you'd have to special order them. This is not a plug, but 123 Stitch.
Oh yes, I love. Yes.
Attend to all your needs with regards to threads. You're forgetting, and when you come visit here, you're gonna notice there's literally one chain of craft shop that will sell embroidery stuff, and they won't have a ton of choices for pearl cottons or anything. They don't have a ton of stuff. Nobody buys
Why did
anything in shops.
I just assumed that you had it like readily available because
No. Everything's
France is
online.
closer.
And yeah, no. No. But also everything is online. There's probably like 3 places where you can go and they'll have stuff in stock. The rest will have very limited amounts, very limited colors and things like that. It's just kind of like everybody just finds these 2 like websites and just stick to them. But because it's a small country, like you get next day shipping pretty much. So it's not that difficult, you know, to get hold of it. Apart from some, to be honest. We'll talk about it. Cotton Embroidery. Forgive my pronunciation of French words. I don't know why they can't just name them so that it's easy for everybody else. But that one, like nobody's allowed to carry that in stock, like in shops.
Crazy.
It's special order directly from DMC. It's not like you're forbidden to have it, but nobody's gonna have it because it takes like 2-3+ weeks for it to arrive from France. So it's completely unreliable chain for that specific thread. And I don't know if they like make them specifically for orders. It could be that. But then I don't know why that would be. It's very strange because the company's really big.
I've never seen a place for me to get it. The only place I've ever been able to acquire it is through you. So
yeah, there was one person somewhere in California in some town I can't remember the name of that said they had a shop in their area which sold every single color of cotton embroidery size 25.
Next time you come to the United States, we have to do a road trip just to go to that store.
Oh, to the California.
Yeah.
I wonder how much it costs, to be honest, because it's not the cheapest of things.
No. Crazy.
Yeah, but yeah, fair enough. So there are a ton of types. There are a ton of brands. So before we jump into like actual types and explain what they are and, you know, what's to be loved, what's to be hated, let's talk brands. So we mentioned Sulky. Sulky, from what I know, specializes in threads for machine embroidery as well as machine sewing. So they're kind of like all kinds of threads, right?
Yeah. So Sulky really started their like journey as just like an all-purpose thread and a machine sewing thread, just like brand. And that's basically what they had forever. Then they started to expand a little bit more into machine embroidery. And so then they started making embroidery thread specifically to run through a machine, which is different than hand embroidery. I don't know. I feel like sometimes people don't recognize that those are
so thin and fine.
Yeah. And you can do a lot more like precision, like very detailed work quickly in a machine versus by hand. And the sewing machines these days, the like modern embroidery machines are pretty amazing. Like you can transfer things pretty like easily from like a design to like a detailed thing to like program into your sewing machine. And then they started making a lot more like filament, like decorative threads to use in like machine sewing. Then some of us started using them in hand embroidery and sharing them a little bit more. And then they really started to kind of market going in that direction.
Because it's strange because I was just going to say maybe it's the same thing that I'm pretty sure that Petite's number 12 is not made for embroidery actually. It's just regular like thread for whatever you want, like general type.
So they really don't make hand embroidery specific thread. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't know about them. But I find, and maybe, I don't know, I think this maybe goes along with the same thing of like having embroidery specific needles that like are pretty crap, right? Like why do we have them called embroidery? I feel kind of that same way about embroidery floss. Like I don't understand why we have to have a separate kind of thing, because if a thread is durable and like, you know, like really works well in like a machine rapidly going through machinery and being like pulled and tugged through a machine, why wouldn't that be also good for hand embroidery? Like for me, my brain, and honestly, that's one of the reasons why I started using it. So the hollow shimmer sliver metallic, well, I guess that one's not a hollow shimmer. So the sliver metallic opalescent, which is the thread that I use for freaking everything. I use it for sun rays. I use it for aurorascapes. It's the thread that I've been using it now in my work for like 5 years, which is just crazy to think about. But I went into the regular sewing area to grab thread for quilting. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so pretty. And I grabbed it thinking I would use it through my machine. Hated the experience of putting it through my sewing machine. Hated it. I did not enjoy the process, okay? Because it's flat. It's like a ribbon. And then I was like, well, it's still pretty. I think I want to use it in hand embroidery. And I started using it that way. And I had never seen anybody use it like that before. And then that opened my whole world up to everything sulky. So that was my introduction to them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You know, I have a theory on your predicament.
Yeah.
Why we have to have like specific types of thread just for embroidery. Because, you know, think about it, skeins is the most popular way to distribute, you know, the thread in colors.
Yeah.
And you only get like 8 yards of thread on there. You don't get a ton. Where I'm pretty sure your spools will have like 200 plus yards or something like that. Well, maybe not. I think the petites actually have like 50 something plus, but still that's like 6 times more than a skein. And so the cost is higher as well. Actually, we need to talk about cost in America versus everywhere else because you guys have it very nicely there.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, so maybe that's why. That's why it's just like less amount for less money. Because you don't actually end up using that much in embroidery. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought about that. So you're right.
But now let's talk about the prices.
Yeah.
And there's theories going around. So for anybody who doesn't know, if you go into like Michael's or Joann's or whatever in America to pick up some embroidery thread, say it's just DMC regular stranded cotton, it'll cost you anywhere between 50 to like 80 cents a piece, right? Like if you use all the coupons and blah, 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 blah. And then often they have the sales just, you know, 50 or 60 cents a piece. So that's dollars, US dollars. If you go into a shop or even go online, the cheapest that you can get a skein here is 99 pence. That's the cheapest. The actual... My cats are trying to get through the door. The actual... What is it? RPI manufacturer suggested retail price is $1.19, I believe, right now. It's gone up in price. It does every year or so. What? That's pounds. That's British pounds. The suggested retail price, I think in the US is 99 cents, but it's very rare that you actually get it at that price because they always run promotions and sales. But in here, the cheapest you can get is 99 pence, and that is well above $1. That's like 1.2 or $1.3.
Yeah.
That's the cheapest you can get a skein for. So more than like 40%.
Almost double. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's annoying. That's Britain. If you go places like France, if you go places like Switzerland, Norway, you're paying like $6 a piece. Maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, depends. In Norway, definitely it's like $5 plus per piece.
That's so crazy to me.
Yeah.
It feels like it should be the opposite.
It should be the opposite. But there is a theory on that. I don't know, like, it kind of makes sense, but I don't know if it's take it with a grain of salt, basically. The US market, US-Canada market, I know in Canada works a little bit differently. It is more expensive in there. Let's say US market, it is huge. And you guys do have Joann's, Michael's, Hobby Lobby. There's a few more, right? And they're all big and they're all kind of accessible everywhere, all around the country. Obviously, you have a ton of people. The theory is that all these shops will eat the cost, so they'll sell it to you for 50 cents instead of $1 so that you can get in the shop and spend your money on something else. So they'll overcharge on other products, but they will get you into the shop by offering 50% off on the embroidery thread. And in Europe, the way that it works, nobody cares. There's like 1-2 shops, maybe everybody buys stuff online. In Europe, DMC wants to price everything according to minimum wage, basically. Like, what's the living wage, I guess. Instead of actually pricing it based on the value of the product, they're pricing it based on, what can you afford to spend, you know? So in Poland, somewhere there, the price will be lower than in Norway or in France, Switzerland, places like that. Which I think is so annoying because that's like the water bottle theory thing.
It is.
Where your price changes.
Yeah.
That I don't like.
I don't like that either. Yeah.
But we have to deal with that. I'm so annoyed still.
Yeah, it also feels like business practices in the United States, like that kind of reflects business practices, which is also why like Joann's just filed for bankruptcy or something.
Did
they? Yeah.
Did they? Oh gosh.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just capitalism in the United States at its finest, unfortunately.
I like Joann's.
Yeah.
That makes me sad.
Yeah. Yeah. But then like, and I feel like Michael's and Joann's are pretty like closely price wise. Like I feel like it's pretty close. Yeah. And then Hobby Lobby, I feel like it's a little bit more on the same price as like what you would pay. They don't do sales very often. I don't necessarily enjoy shopping there as much because it is a very religious experience. And as someone who is not religious, I do not enjoy being inside.
Is it run by religious people?
Oh, yes. Hobby Lobby, yes.
And is it a big chain?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
And
I have no idea.
And for some people, especially anybody who lives like in the south of the United States, Hobby Lobby is often the only option. And like, I don't ever want to discourage someone from, shopping at a local craft store if that's what they have. But where I live, I have the luxury of, I think I have like 6 places I can go for thread. And
yeah, shut up.
and Hobby Lobby is one of the higher priced ones. So. But yes, there's religious music playing over the speakers.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, like, what do you mean by religious experience?
Yeah,
religious
and
music.
like,
do they sell like nativity stuff all the time?
Yeah. And as someone who grew up evangelical Christian, I know like all the music. I'll catch myself like humming along to it while I'm shopping, and I'm like, oh, wait a second.
To the hymns.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, it's usually instrumental. So you can't, like, if you know the music, otherwise I'm sure for most people who walk in who don't know, they're probably like, oh, this is like nice elevator music, but
they're trying to brainwash you.
It is a very religious experience, and I just don't necessarily enjoy that. I would much rather shop somewhere where it's just either no music or just like whatever's on the radio. And that's a personal preference.
That is
but also
really
because
they decided to add that into their strategy, sales strategy.
Yeah. Again, for someone like me who has options, and then like you said, I also highly enjoy though that there are online options too, because like 123 Stitch, like you said, has such a huge like I genuinely am so curious what their warehouse looks like.
I know, me too.
They have so much in stock on their website all the time, and like as someone who stocks many things, I'm like, my house is already overrun. I can't even like, I mean, I get that they have like it's a huge business, but their warehouse must be magic.
Hannah, imagine if, because there's very easy ways of hiding companies and stuff. Imagine if 123 Stitch owns Michael's, Joann's,
my gosh.
Everybody. They're like the mother. They're the umbrella.
Okay, we're now getting into conspiracy theories. We could do a whole episode on stitching conspiracy theories.
That's a good idea, actually, for an episode.
I digress. Okay, so we are talking about brands. So DMC. Anchor is also one which didn't do well in the United States. I don't know if we've talked about that at all.
No, but we should because, okay, so there is this divide in the world.
Yeah.
It is DMC versus Anchor. There are kind of pros and cons to both in some ways, but it all comes down to where you are located. For example, in the US, well, I would say like Western English-speaking countries will have the luxury of accessing both brands. Mm-hmm. Quite all right. No issues. We've bought Anchor together before in Michael's, in Joann's. It's pretty easy. It's there just alongside of DMC. But you can tell DMC is kind of dominating, can't you? And I've never been, but if you go Eastern Europe, if you go basically East, India, I don't know, the countries in the East, it will be mostly dominated by Anchor. And I don't know if they have some kind of treaty there, being like, okay, you don't touch this area and, like, let us be here and then we'll let you be there. I don't know. This is their internal affairs. But that definitely seems that way, that it's just separated location-wise. Yeah. So,
well, Anchor did a pretty hard launch shortly before you arrived. The first time you were here, right? Was it? I want to say it was the first time.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The first time you came to visit.
I never went to visit. I never went. You're dreaming.
To visit me. Stop
You're dreaming.
You're making me crazy.
Wait, I don't know what you're talking about, though. What kind of launch did they
The
have?
embroidery thread. Did we go
like the
shopping for it
spooly
the
ones.
first? Yes.
Was that brand new? I had no idea.
Yeah. So they did like a pretty hard, like big launch. Okay. And that's why you saw the nice displays in both Joann's and Michael's. They are gone. They did not do well.
Are you kidding me?
No. So, yeah. So I think, I feel like I told you, but a lot of us, when we realized both Michael's and Joann's decided they were no longer going to carry, I don't know what happened. They went on crazy steep discounts. So they were like 20 cents, 15 cents a spool. So I have like a big, yes.
Why didn't you tell me? I would have sent you like a couple hundred.
I'll bring some with me because it's, yeah. And so sadly, you can still buy it in the United States, but it doesn't have the pretty
1, 2, 3
displays
stitch.
anymore. They got rid of
so
it pretty
annoying.
quickly. Yeah. So I don't know what
I wonder
happened.
if DMC had anything to do with that.
I don't know. I'm very curious, but yeah, one day it was there in the stores, and then the next day it was gone. At least in the stores near me. So.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy! The Anchor just did the ballsiest move with offering regular thread on spools to make it easy to store, to make it easy to use. And
I actually love
freaking
that.
love it. I love that so much. Much. It's the same thread, just on the spool. And the spool is kind of small. It's like a nice little petite one. It's cute.
They're cute. Yeah.
I love them. I love the ones that I have. They're so cute.
Yeah.
But they take a lot more space, to be fair.
They take up more space. They make more environmental waste. So like that's
Plastic,
something to consider too because of the plastic.
True.
I enjoy the stitching experience of Anchor. Like I like how smooth it is.
Agreed.
Agreed. Yeah. But downsides, and I wonder if maybe this is why they didn't do so well in the stores, there were complaints of color washing off. So like if someone were to do like a stick and stitch kind of piece of paper on top and like for patterns and then they stitched and then they washed it away, the colors were bleeding.
Oh, so they weren't color fast.
They weren't as color fast. And that's one thing I think why DMC dominates the market so much is because they really are color fast. Like I have never experienced DMC bleeding.
I have certain colors. All the blues will bleed. All the blues. All the blues. Apart from like, very faint light blues. Everything else will bleed. Just the pigments. Well, actually, you're opening a can of worms, which I knew was going to happen on this episode. Conspiracy theories, cans of worms. So there are different laws when it comes to pigment dyes, chemicals, all kinds of that.
Yeah.
All kinds of things like that. And different countries have different laws. So for example, say they use this E370 blah, blah, blah dye on whatever color 504 in here, because they do everything in France, so they obviously like their starting point is French law for all the chemicals and stuff. Yeah. So they'll do whatever, what they can, and then they will do research as to what's allowed, what's not allowed in other countries where they want to distribute. And based on that, you might not have the colors that we have available, and you might have the colors that we do not have available. And that's all due to dyes. So I wonder if my blues here are not the same blues as you have, because my blues bleed if you put them in the water. Even if you like rub your fingers on some blues, like I want to say like 825, if you rub your fingers will go blue. Like it's pretty bad in some cases. There are some reds that do the same thing.
I mean, it makes sense. What you are saying makes sense. I'm just so shocked by that. I mean, but it makes sense. I just have never thought about that. They say it's all
color fast, but like how much can you trust them? You'll have to test it before. They say test it before. Why say that it's color fast and then say, but test it before?
You should give me a list of ones that bleed. And
825, 336, 824, 823, 820.
And then I will get you skeins of them.
The American ones. Let's do that. We'll do a
color test. Yeah, I wonder what was happening there. But anyway, it was really disappointing to me that Anchor did this huge launch. Like the display cases were beautiful. And they were like cute. We have video, Yeah, like we were so happy to go and visit those. It was so much fun. They're gone. They worked like there's these popular home improvement things that you put in your fridge and like you put your cans in there and it rotates them. Yes.
it was kind of like that.
And they would like pop out the
you
next
take
one.
it out, and then the next, one would come
in.
down.
Oh,
yeah.
it was
so
it was
fun.
very satisfying.
Like vending machines.
Yes.
Oh
So
my God.
yeah, and Anchor does still sell in stores for the like regular skeins on like the the regular classic. I don't know what you call
Skeins.
that. The regular, yeah.
Skeins.
They still sell those in bags. So like the hefty bag, so that there's like many colors of them, like a starter kit.
Interesting.
They do still sell those in stores, but they just don't have the
Okay.
spools anymore, and they don't
That is
have the
very
hanging
sad.
skeins much of Anchor. Honestly, Anchor DMC just dominates so much in the United States now.
Well, same here. Same here. You can find Anchor. Like, it's not difficult, but it's mostly DMC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But some people
And-
don't have the luxury of accessing both. Or even,
Yeah.
to be honest, like one of them. Like, some countries
Right.
don't even have either. They'll have something
Yeah.
of their own. Like in Russia, for example, they have their own thread types that they make locally in Russia, which I still yet to get hold of.
makes me feel like that must be superior because the embroidery that comes out of Russia is like so beautiful. So it makes
Agreed.
me wonder if the thread is better.
Well, people do recommend it, but they don't sell it outside the country. I don't
Right.
think you'd have to actually like get a contact in the country, have them buy it, then just ship it out.
And ship it to you. Yeah.
Which we should do that actually. I have lots of friends in Russia still, so
Yeah. The other thing to note is also my love of sulky. You cannot buy petites in most craft stores in town. You have to buy them online. So that's the other thing.
do you
like,
know
for
if
people...
1, 2, 3 Stitch has them?
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to look into that.
I think they do actually. I think
Maybe they do.
Natalie, when we were going through the whole thing, because I bought the whole fucking case.
That's right. And my only complaint with the petites, and again, it's also just because it's like a newer product, is there's just not as much of a color range. And that gets a little frustrating sometimes. But also,
Yeah, blues are bad.
yeah. Besides that, though, because I don't want to get too much off topic. So we have talked about DMC, Anchor, Sulky. I had mentioned JP Coats, which I don't believe is a company anymore, but it was like a knockoff version of DMC. Can you think of any other like major brands?
Yeah, there's Paint Box, which is a new kid on the block. I believe they are located in Germany. Could
Never
be
heard of
wrong,
it.
but I'm pretty sure. Actually, I don't think that Paint Box is German. I'm confusing it with Rico. Rico. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
To me, they're kind of like the same. It might be that Paint Box is actually owned by Lovecrafts. That's like their own brand of thread. Do you know Lovecrafts?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're huge. They're like they're online only. Pretty sure they're in Ukraine, but their main market is Europe and the UK. Like they'll have the cheapest stuff and then, they'll do all the sales and stuff like that. So I think they've come up with their own brand. It's pretty big here, to be honest. Like you don't see it in the shops yet, but they're trying to promote it all over. And then Rico is the one that's based in Germany, and it's very popular in European Union as well, because it's not crazy expensive, and from what I know, it's pretty good thread. Obviously, it's just it doesn't have 500 colors yet, and things like that, so it'll take time to grow that stuff. So those are the two that come to mind that are not like knockoff Chinese brands. Anything else from you?
No, and then I was just gonna say the awful generic terrible ones that
Like CXC.
exactly. Basically in America, and if you go into any hobby store, most of the bagged ones that are like on the bottom, like they literally look like an
$5.
afterthought. Those are usually like created in China or something, and it's an off-brand. Sometimes they don't usually have any kind of color marking. There's no way to track what the colors are, and they're terrible. They literally, if you like pull on them, they will fall apart. The color within the same skein, the color is not consistent. Like they're terrible, and it seems like such a good deal because you'll be able to get like 30 skeins for $3 or something. But they're terrible. Don't do it, please.
Yeah,
Just
don't
leave
do
those
it.
there.
Embroidery, in the grand scheme of things, is actually pretty cheap hobby to keep up with and to get started with. But people want to go even cheaper, and they do opt in for those kind of bags full of threads. And most of the time, they just regret that. Because you don't know what you don't know, right? Like, you buy this, and you're like, oh, that's a great deal. And then you use it, and, like, you've got problems, but you just think that all the threads are going to have the same problems. But then you get your hands on DMC or Anchor, and you're like, ooh... Okay, that's a bit different.
It's so
Yeah,
different.
so I would say like at least get one skein to try,
Yeah.
and then you
So
make
you can tell the
an educated
difference.
decision. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The only reason I ever recommend buying those bags is if you're going to make friendship bracelets.
Okay,
Because
fair.
that's fine for making a friendship bracelet, but that's about it. Otherwise, don't buy them.
Actually, I would. This is kind of controversial, actually. I could recommend this type of thread for people embroidering on clothes because
Oh.
most clothes is not 100% cotton. There will be like poly cotton mixes and things like that. And this fake thread knockoffs, they will most likely be a like 99% chance that it will be poly cotton mix rather than 100% cotton
Yeah.
that we're used to. So if you're embroidering on clothing, it could be better for like longevity that you
Oh.
use the polycotton thread so that it kind of like mixes up with your piece of clothing. Say you're embroidering a hoodie and you know like you wash it every couple of weeks, that kind of stuff. It might be better. I don't know, I haven't tested it out. I haven't embroidered anything on clothes using that, but it's kind of logical, right? It makes sense.
Yeah.
Apart from the fact that obviously it's more difficult to work with and they're color unreliable and you don't know if it's going to bleed and all that kind of stuff. So make an educated guess when you decide on things like that. Any other brands?
No, I can't think of any other brands. I think that's, yeah, I think we're
Okay.
pretty much covered the brands. The other thing I was going to mention is then if we wanted to get into the difference between the three main DMC thread types that you had brought up, because I did not know that pearl cotton was a thing until maybe, I don't know, 2022.
That's sad.
I had seen it in the store, but like I was like, I don't know why I don't know what the use is for that. So let's pretend like I know nothing. Why would you recommend using a pearl cotton versus a 6-stranded cotton? Like, what would you say is like the exciting
Well, off the top
bit
of my
about
head,
pearl cotton?
it is extremely beginner friendly because it's just one strand. It's one thick ass strand. It comes either on the skein if it's pearl cotton 5 or 8, or like on the cotton ball, which would be a little bit more expensive, but you'd get like 85 meters worth of thread.
Yeah.
Instead of like 25. It's extremely beginner friendly. It's very easy to use. It has this like a twisted kind of braid look on it. So it's got like a bit of a texture, and me again, like I'm just doing satin stitch, so what I'm looking is a bunch of stitches next to each other, like a bunch of long stitches. The texture that it makes is quite unique, to be honest, like thread wise. There's no other thread apart from pearl cotton that has that particular look. It's super freaking fun to work with. So fun because it's just one strand. Like there's no work, there's no, you know, guessing, like that kind of stuff. It's fun. That's why I would recommend it. But obviously, the downside is that you can't use less of it. You know, like you can't make it
Right.
smaller. So you're stuck with that one size. Whereas, say if you have 6 strands, you could use all 6. You could use 5, 4, 3, 2. You could use 1. You know, like you have all these options there.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't recommend using pearl cotton, say size 8, because that's the smaller. It's called medium because there are smaller sizes, but they don't have very many colors, so it's kind of pointless to even consider those. So size 8 is the smaller one compared to size 5. I would say the minimum size that you should be stitching that with is 5 inches. Otherwise, it will stand out because it's quite thick. It's the equivalent of 2 to 3 strands, basically. I would say maybe 2 is that. And then 5 is more like 3 to 4 strands thickness. It's hefty. And if you think about it, it's round, right? So like when you can lay say you're stitching with 4 strands, you can lay your strands like right next to each other and like they become really flat. Where pearl cotton 5 is not going to be flat. It's like it's round. It's going to stick out like a piece of rope on there, you know?
Yeah.
So, and there's many things that you can do with pearl cotton. Like
I've never stitched with it ever.
what the?
I know.
Why?
Again, I have so much thread at my disposal. I'm just going to use up what I have. I've never had it donated to me, so I've never used it.
I will donate some.
No, I'm sure I could go to Natalie's house and she would, because she has just a wall of it. But
she would absolutely donate some for you.
Yeah, I've never.
You should try it. It's really fun.
Thought. And then there's also different types of. Besides that is the broder.
Yeah. Cotton embroidery. French fucking words. I don't know how to say it. I'm saying it totally wrong. totally
Just
wrong.
disclaimer, we are doing our best, okay? Nobody needs to come at us about mispronouncing
To be honest,
things.
I don't even care about doing my best. I just say that's how I say it. I don't give a fuck. I know what I'm talking about.
And then there's also, they have the, I'm going to say it wrong. Is it moulin?
Moulin, yeah. But
Yeah.
that's the regular thread. That's the regular stranded thread. That's what it's called. Moulin Special.
Oh, really? Is
Yeah.
it? I thought that was
It's just
like
the regular stranded, 6-stranded thread. It's got a name, a French name.
Yeah, but it's like they have like a special edition or something. Is it like special colors then?
No, that's just the name of the thread. Moulin Special. That's the name of it. What are you looking at? What are you referring to?
I'm looking at the card, the DMC card. They have like a whole other section for it.
Is it like the variegated thread or?
No, they just have it in here as like a special thing. So
Where?
I'm on this last part here. This
Yeah,
section.
is it the top? Yeah, that's the regular stranded thread.
I wonder why they put it in a separate thing.
No, they're
Letting
not
you
putting
know that
it in
it's
a
also
separate
named
thing.
by that.
Yeah, they're just telling you the name of it.
That's good to know.
Because underneath their swatches of pearl cotton and
Ooh, the Pearl
couple of
Cotton
other
12 is like my cup of tea, but
yeah,
they
it's
don't
got
make
5
that
colors.
Yeah,
It's got ecru, white, black, and a couple other beiges,
it's
which
cute.
is annoying. I think there's more actually. I think maybe there's like 20 plus colors, but
And then there are some other types that they offer that I will never recommend. And those are anything
Same.
that is not cotton. Okay? So
satin.
the reason being they are just so brittle. They knot so easily, and why they still offer them in 6 strands. Anybody who knows
So
me
like
knows.
you're talking about metallics, the light effects ones.
Yes,
satin
metallics,
ones.
light effects. They have like their satin.
Satin is literally the devil's thread. Never ever ever you're gonna like it.
Yeah, but anything that has like that isn't cotton that they offer, any kind of synthetic fibers that they offer. Why they think to put a synthetic fiber in 6 strands all next to each other. It's like asking, I swear, I just look at it and it's already knotted. It's already in a pile of like just disaster and it's fraying and I don't know where one strand is. Like,
yeah,
and
agreed.
the feel of it also makes my skin crawl. To touch their diamond thread is the only one that maybe I would say is okay, and those come in spools. That will be
more like the soul keys. Yeah.
Yes, but anything that comes in the regular like hanging skein, don't do it, please.
Yeah,
don't
I would
do
agree.
It.
Apart from maybe one, for a specific look, because it is a very specific type of thread. It's got the metallics inside it, but it's regular stranded cotton thread with a mix of metallics inside the skein. So it's called Etoile. I don't know.
Yes. Oh, that one. Yes. That one is...
That one I would recommend to try for the looks of it. Like, that looks so much fun. Like, I haven't actually stitched with it. I really want to.
It's very lightweight. It's very fluffy. So if you are looking for something to give like a nice light texture, I would... Yes, it's okay.
There's times for things, you know.
Yes. But it's also like really hard to thread through a needle because because it's so fluffy, it's like hard to get.
I have not thought about that.
Yeah. And then because they have very fine metallic strands through it, those metallic strands can break while you're stitching. And then you have just like the ends, like little stabby metallic bits.
Oh, yeah. I've not thought about that. Maybe we'll give that a pass.
Again, like, so there are other threads that I would recommend for metallic specifically, and they are not advertised as embroidery thread. Again, they're super durable because they're designed as all-purpose or to go through a machine. There are brands that are known more in like other kinds of stitching. So, for example, cross stitch. Krennic thread is one that like dominates for cross stitch because cross stitchers do use metallics or different variations of threads to add details to their patterns. And Krennic's been around forever, and that's UK based. And they have different weights. They have like braided, they have really heavy thread, but then they also have very, very fine, thin thread. And they're very beloved in the cross stitching community. And I like it. It's nice. It's harder for me to get my hands a hold of because it's not based in the United States. Gutermann also makes a ton, which again, German, comparable to sulky, like they're very similar. And I also, I wonder if they have a partnership or something, because they offer threads that almost look identical sometimes.
I don't think so. They're just like really big competitors.
Anchor also makes metallic threads that go through sewing machines, and they're pretty nice. So I would recommend like literally anything, any other brand.
But DMC for metallics?
Yes.
Fair.
So those are the
Fair.
threads that I would recommend. But Anchor and Sulky and Gutermann, you can find in any hobby store in America in the normal sewing section. So like the machine thread section. You can find those in pretty much any of them. You won't find all of the colors and all of the different versions of them. They're pretty easily accessible. I just don't think people know to find them because they're not in the hand embroidery section. So.
Yeah. That's fair. I want to talk about just a little bit about things that could be unavailable in certain countries and things like that. We mentioned the dyes, so that would affect some colors. DMC as well as Anchor, DMC does it better. They have printed thread cards, which Hannah has showed earlier. If you're watching, if you're listening, it's just like a big piece of cardboard with actual thread swatches on there, just to show you what the thread will look like in each color.
Yeah. So
there's a bunch. So DMC does pretty much one of these for each of their threads to show which colors they have and what it looks like and stuff. So some of those you will never find in American shops. Some of those you will never find on European markets, things like that. For example, the most recent one that I was talking to Natalie, it was 3760 is the color that I use quite often. But apparently you guys don't have that available in America.
No, they call
it
806.
806, yeah. So it's slightly different color, but that's what they say. You know, if you can't get hold of 37, they even put that on there just to kind of show you, nope, not available there. There's a few of them, not a ton, but like maybe like under 10, maybe just over 10 of those from 500 colors. That's not a bad percentage, you know. And then there's embroidery thread types that might not be available. For example, the cotton Embroidery that we're talking about, it is incredible thread, just amazing, awesome, but it just seems like DMC really hides it from the world. It's available on their website for the UK and French people. You won't see it if you go on dmc.com from America. You won't see it from anywhere else, pretty much. But you will see, if you go from America, you will see that he sells something similar that's called floosh, which is apparently similar to cotton embroidery, but still quite different. And the skeins of that cost like $12 a piece, but also it's a huge skein, like it's 50 meters or something, like a ton of thread, maybe more. I've never even could get my hands on that because they only sell it to the American public, but also they only have like a handful of colors of that thread. But I don't know why anybody would need this obscene amount on the skein for $15, something like that. So I have no idea what the hell they're thinking, who they're actually advertising it to and things like that, and why they are hiding cotton embroidery from the world. I don't know, because even here it is very difficult to get hold of. You have to order directly from DMC. Even at wholesale, they take forever. There's not a straightforward way of doing it, really, and there's always issues. But I love that thread so much. I try so hard to have like products available with this thread. Like I'm gonna be making some little kits with it, and I've already made some stick and stitch kits with it, just to kind of spread the word, because it's such an incredible thread. I love it so much. It's like my favorite.
I asked you to describe pearl cotton a little bit, but we haven't gone over, like, because it is so like soft and smooth of an experience.
If anybody has ever tried a needlepoint or Bargello, those are the things, like the yarns that you use, the threads that you use are heavy. They're like heavier than 6-stranded, you know, if you use the whole thing. So there's wools, there's they're chunky wools, very smushy. And then DMC has a premium option for Bargello and needlepoint, which is called soft cotton, and I don't know that that's available widely in America, but it is. So. It's like, imagine a piece of thread. It's quite chunky, but you can smush it like a marshmallow.
Yeah.
It's so awesome. It's like, you know, a lovely, like I could imagining
pillow.
people putting that on the pillow and just like not even noticing that there's
Yeah.
embroidery on there because it's that soft. Cotton embroidery is kind of like that, but in the miniature size. It's nice and soft. It's not very smushy, but it's really lovely and soft. It does have a twist, but the twist is not as visible, let's say, as in pearl cotton. And because it is much softer, it's a different type of cotton, I guess, that they use. It's not very fluffy. Like at the end, you know, like when you use it and you have an end hanging and then you put it through the thing, like it will fray, it will like puff up and stuff like that, but only at the end. Like the actual thread doesn't do that much. Yeah, I like it. I would compare that to sulky, except there's no shine. It's very matte.
It's very,
where sulky is very shiny.
Yes,
Not
which
very,
we didn't
but
talk
shinier.
about, but sulky does have a little bit more of luster to it. Also, we haven't gone over the world of like silk and stuff too, but there is a subset of embroidery, especially like thread painting world, where they do stitch with like silk based threads and stuff. I am not an expert on that. But that is also another category.
There's wools. People stitch with wools.
Yes, wools.
Well, there's a brand new one.
As embroidery has kind of grown and evolved through time, especially because embroidery is a thing again, right? Like it's really had another boom in popularity. And so now all sorts of products are coming out because people are experimenting. There's so many more of us that are doing mixed media, so many more of us that are like messing around with textures and like different things to embroider on, right? Like it's not, we're no longer just stitching on regular cotton fabric or like if you're cross stitcher on Ada.
Yeah.
Like, and because of that, new products are coming out to be able to accommodate and work with that. Like DMC launched their wool line.
The eco wool line.
Yeah.
Dyed with natural ingredients such as onions and nuts and pistachios, things like that, which is actually pretty incredible. I don't know how, you know, like the colors, I could see issues being, you know, turning up with consistency of their colors.
Totally.
But I think they've introduced like 50 something colors of this Ecovita embroidery thread. They've had, so Ecovita is already trademarked by them, and they have knitting yarn and crochet yarn. That's the same principle. So they just expanded that Ecovita range to embroidery to include wool, which is sustainably sourced, apparently. You know, it's very refined, all that kind of stuff. I've had a little play with it. I got some colors. I will get some more, but I think there's like 50 plus something right now, maybe a little bit less. It seems lovely. The colors are incredible. They're very kind of mute a little bit. They're not like screaming at your face. Tame. I would say tame and very calming colors. I love the colors.
But yeah, I think how cool is it that we are like artists in a day and age where products are changing and stuff to accommodate like what we are all wanting. So while we are on this subject, I hope someone from DMC maybe just happens upon our podcast and listens. Please expand your colors in your darker colorways. Please, for the love of all things, because the dark blues, the dark purples, the dark reds, and basically
there are no
any
dark
very
purples really.
Yeah, like they have an amazing amount of colors, but they could make more, and it makes me so sad that they don't have certain colorways. Because like, searching for a very dark purple when I have very dark purples.
No, they just don't have, like, they don't have a dark purple that's almost black. They don't have it. They don't have a dark red that's almost black. They don't have a dark, really anything. Like, the only dark that I can think of is, like, 500, but still, it could be darker. It's not actually that dark. But those are the difficult ones. Those are the difficult ones, like, production-wise. Because darker, richer, you know, like how back in the day, everybody wore just, like, regular linen colors. Because nobody had dyes, or, you know, dyes were just being invented, and only the rich wore them. It's still... nothing's changed. Like the good colors are very difficult to come by.
But then there are like
I understand
200 pinks, I feel like, you know.
Agreed. There are a ton of pinks, and I understand why. Because of the florals, you know. But then there's colors like 742 and then 972, which are pretty much identical yellows.
Yeah, like I don't understand.
Why have both?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So
I
that's
don't get it either. Are you ready to take that quiz is my question. Okay, listen. There's this game Hannah and I play all the time. She never wants to play it, you see.
I'm so
And it
bad
is
at
Guess
it.
the Color. I said that we should do a quiz at the end and I would quiz her. And she said no, but then obviously we're still going ahead because I'm running the podcast. Kidding. But I compromised and I sent her 3 pictures. Only 3. She needs to guess only 3 colors and she still don't want to. So, Hannah, be nice to people. People want to see you either succeed or fail. And I want to have fun.
All
But
right.
trust me, these 3 colors that I sent you are the colors that you should know.
Okay.
Okay, so there's the first one. I'll put it on the screen, but it is the light green.
The light green. I want to say it's in this like early 700s, but I feel like I'm wrong.
It's not in the early 700s, I can tell you.
I got nothing.
You got nothing? Okay. All right, well, epic fail on the number 1. It's 164.
Okay.
Doesn't ring a bell?
Nope.
Okay, fair enough. Well, the rest, the other 2 should do.
I should know this one.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I know this one. Is it in the 100s?
No.
502?
Very close.
501?
501!
Oh,
see, you're not
okay.
that bad at it. You're not that bad at it. Good job. It's 501.
I literally have to like look around my room for something that's like kind of like that color and think like, what colors did I use?
Come on, we love the 500 ones. And the last one is this. If you don't guess it from like the first attempt, I would be pretty disappointed. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, you're probably going to be disappointed. Is this in the 3000s?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is this 3... There's so much pressure. I want to get it right.
I know. I can
is it-
tell you're so nervous. I don't know why. It's just a bloody game.
Is it 3847?
Don't disappoint. Good job.
No,
It's
that's my
3847. I know. Yeah, I'm saying you don't disappoint. Thank you. At least you got one right from the start.
I try. I feel like I should have prepared some for you, but you would get them
It's
all
okay.
correctly. That was a fun game. Everybody got to witness me being like super nervous.
I'm glad we're like, not 2 hours in yet.
Not 2
Let's
hours
do
in.
So okay, y'all, we've decided because you probably have, if you're religiously watching the podcast or listening to the podcast, you might have noticed that we started with about 1 hour length, and then by episode 6, it's nearing 2 hours. So we've decided that we're not going to do our segments that we do every episode. We've decided we're just going to rotate our segments for each episode. So we'll do one at a time, and then the next episode we'll do some other segment. What segment do you want to do today?
I want to do trends I hate.
Okay, I don't have one.
I absolutely cannot stand AI embroidery.
Oh, okay. AI anything, to be honest. Any kind of
AI
art generation.
AI anything. I find it very dangerous. I find it gross feeling because oftentimes it is used as a way to try and manipulate other people or make them think that it is actually hand embroidery. It's just very misleading, and I feel like it also, for anybody who doesn't know embroidery work very well, it's very easy to be like
Deceived.
Yeah. I mean, if you know what embroidery looks like, it's very easy to tell if something is AI. But I just feel like as it gets better and better, it's going to get harder and harder to tell. And I feel like there's going to be people that get scammed out of money. There's going to be, and already I feel like it's already happening where people like are saying, oh, this is a pattern that you can download. This is a kit that I made. And it's just a scam.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've not seen it go that far. But I'm also curious. You said that you're sure that there would be some positive opinions about it. I don't see a possibility of that. What do you mean?
Maybe just people who back AI in general, I feel like are going to be like have some positive to it. I don't know.
I guess AI in general. Like, I don't think that it's a bad thing. But when it comes to art and generated,
yeah. And I think the only positive that I can come up with is if someone is trying to brainstorm ideas, maybe, and like to plug it into a generator to like kind of like get ideas. But again, I feel like it's an easy way out. But overall, it just really bothers me.
I agree. I don't have a trend to share this time, so
well, that's okay.
Let's do an artist shout out.
My artist shout out is a wonderful buddy of mine. She took a pretty decent, I don't want to call it a hiatus, but she is multi-talented and has shifted back and forth. She really enjoys painting more than anything else, I think, but is all of a sudden feeling a burst of energy in embroidery work again. She's also a florist. Her name is Ashley, and it used to be at happymood.co, but now it is Happy Mood Studio on social media. And she makes absolutely stunning mixed media embroidery work. But again, she's also a painter, and she does mixed media paintings with embroidery, like stump work on them. But we have been very good friends online for a bit. I own several of her pieces. She is an incredible human, but also just like one of the most talented people I have ever met. I feel like everything that she touches becomes art. Like just the way that she lives her life is art.
Yeah, it's very cool. I love
But it's
her
all
stuff.
very much her. Like if the second that I see, and again, I think that's what I really love and respect about other artists is if I am scrolling and I can just automatically tell who that artwork is made by is like a wonderful thing. You know, like that was something that I strive for, is that people would know that it's mine when scrolling. And her artwork is just stunning. How about you?
So the account is called Studio M. The tag is M_Fine Arts Studio. So there's a double S in there. I'll put it on the screen. So I've known Mira for a couple of years. I've purchased a couple of things from her.
Oh, yes.
She's such a perfectionist. Like that's so what I would kind of, because she dabbles in everything. Like whatever she like embroidery she loves. Painting, she's made a freaking notebook recently. She just does whatever her heart desires. She doesn't post very often, which is what I can see, like, you know, being the perfectionist. Her feed is just impeccable, but she doesn't post very often. Perfectionist part of it. So I wish she posted more, you know, her process and things like that. I wish she'd done that, but you know, people do what they want to do. I just love everything that she makes. Literally everything that she makes, I love. So I just wanted to give her a shout out because she's such a cool artist.
Is so selective on what she shares, though. I feel like when she does share, it is truly like such a moment.
Masterpiece.
Yes.
Yeah. True. Yeah. True. Very true.
The last couple posts pieces of artwork that she shared, I've almost always shared it to my stories instantly because I'm like, look, everybody, look at the next masterpiece.
I know. Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. I
also love her stitching is so refined, but then she also pairs a lot of her artwork with like very bold color choices. And like the mix of those two things is just so satisfying.
She's just got a very creative, like she literally, like whatever she touches, like, you know, your shout out is, you know, very similar. Like
they are similar people.
Mira will do like lino cut printing. And
yes.
She'll do painting on fabric, and she'll do a notebook, and she'll do floral embroidery, and she'll do acrylic stuff, and she'll do cards and freaking everything.
It's beautiful.
I love what she does.
It is. I agree. Check her out.
You'll check her out. Anything else you want to talk about today? Any last
I don't think
thoughts?
so. I think we covered a good bit. If you have threads that we didn't mention, let us know. If there's something you disagree with, let us know. We are constantly learning and growing. This podcast has been a really wonderful opportunity for us to continue to learn more about this art form that we love.
Yeah, and give us a follow on social media. We're on TikTok, on Instagram, and on YouTube, which is the preferred place for you to watch this podcast if you'd like to, or listen. You don't have to watch. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere. If you can leave us a rating or review, you can participate in the polls on Spotify. That would be fantastic. And thank you so much for getting on Stitch with us today. Hope you have a great week, 2 weeks. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye. I'm such an old lady.
We're just leaning heavily into old lady land.
It's fucking true. Everything. The choice of art, the choice of seating.
Everything.
The choice of joints.